and gentlemen, welcome back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. I'm your host, the Exceptional one, Kevin McClinton. Tonight we have a great guest with us, Michael Fischer, who is the president of the organization, once more, right before my very eyes, and now it's gone. No, there we go. New York Central Park South Civic Association. Tonight we're talking about the Great American Homeless Crisis, and is this manufactured? We both contend that it is not. Michael, if you would explain to us exactly what is a civic association and its role, even in a city as large as Manhattan, New York.
Well, our goal is to build a number of people in the city to join, get a number of people in the city to join the organization. So that we can have a lot more influence over our politicians to responsibly try to solve some of the issues that we have in the city. And right now, they just do a terrible job. They don't focus on the problems and they don't come up with really good solutions. Their solutions are just spending too much money to solve problems when they can spend a lot less money.
Well,
it's a really sad situation right now, very sad state of affairs.
A sad one indeed. But Michael, there are those who would say, wait a minute, we got to spend money in order to save money. We need to make certain that our government personnel and our contractors are given the just amount of reward necessary for serving a indigenous population like the homeless.
Well, the big problem that we have in trying to solve the homeless crisis around the country is that politicians really don't personally care about the problem. For them, it's just a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. Mayor de Blasio, in his first 4 years as mayor, did absolutely nothing to address the problem. Absolutely nothing. It was after when he got reelected for his second term that he said, "Okay, I'm going to create a new program, and the name of the program is the New Tide, create a New Tide program for New York City," which is a program that was, from his perspective, was designed to try to help people. And what he basically said was he was opening up 90 new shelters in very expensive buildings throughout New York City, which in that sense would only help about 4,000 or 5,000 homeless people. And so it's all smoke and mirrors. They're basically good at kicking the can down the road and not good at really trying to come up with solutions to solve the problem. If they really want to solve the problem, they're going to sit down and when they first get elected and actually make it a priority and do the right thing. And instead, the problem just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and he's really not doing anything to solve the problem. I mean, opening up 90 shelters in the city to service about 4,000 or 5,000 people is not really solving the issue at all.
Well, Michael, there are those who are in that leftist regime that would say, not enough is being done right now for the homeless, and what can we do to find affordable housing in New York? What do we do? Do we build it somewhere in New Jersey? Do we send those homeless people to North Carolina or out down to Texas? Maybe that'd be a better answer, right?
No, I mean, first of all, that's not the solution to the problem at all. What the Mayor de Blasio recently was sending homeless people into Newark, New Jersey, and actually putting them into very unsafe buildings that were fire traps, buildings that are infested with rats. How is that a great way to treat people if you want to try to help them out? That's just pathetic. He does the same thing in New York. For example, there's a building on West 58th Street called the Park Savoy Hotel that he's trying to open up as a shelter, and the building's a fire trap. It's a 9-story high rise, and it only has one staircase going in and out of the building, which means that most of these people are going to be trapped in a building. And this is what he historically does. He doesn't care about where he puts them. He doesn't care about where he puts them in Newark and unsafe buildings or New York and unsafe buildings. He's just trying to act like he's doing stuff to solve the problem, but in essence, he's really doing nothing. he doesn't want to really deal with the problem.
You
It's
know,
sort of one of those issues that he just wants to stay away from.
Michael Fischer with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, from the South Central Park Civic Association in Manhattan, New York. Um, in this
Central Park
Central,
South Civic Association.
forgive me, Central
Central
Park.
Park South. That's okay.
It's an off night for me. I don't know what's going on. I apologize. I apologize.
It's the holidays approaching.
It's there. You go. It is, and with the holidays approaching, thank you for bringing that to my attention. With the holidays approaching, Michael, there are those who have recently gotten the news that Mayor de Blasio is shipping homeless people to North Carolina, and we're under the impression around the country that New York is really not trying to solve its homeless problem. It's trying to hand its homeless problem over to other people. I have to ask you, first and foremost, within your civic association, when did you all become alerted to the fact that Mayor de Blasio was not trying to solve the crises?
Well, I mean, when he first was elected, I mean, he did absolutely nothing. I mean, people were lying in the street. You have a lot of people who are mentally ill that are in the streets. You have people that are, who need a lot of help, and he's not doing anything about it. And I think he seems to think like if he gets a blank check and he writes a check for $1 billion and he sticks them in buildings that are very expensive buildings that are owned by slumlords who make millions of dollars off of it, who also support his candidacy for mayor, he thinks he's coming up with a solution to resolve the problem. And I can tell the mayor right now that that's just not the way to do it. First of all, you don't take money from slumlords. Secondly, you don't make slumlords millions of dollars by putting them in their building, especially since most of these buildings are unsafe.
Exactly. Now, if you would, if you could tell the American people who are listening tonight, they're paying $800 to $1,000 for their 2-bedroom place, maybe $1,200 for their 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. How much does a 2-bedroom, 1-bath go for in Midtown Manhattan?
Well, I think the better way to put this is if you're speaking about the fact that he's putting homeless people in hotel rooms that are probably costing about $4,500 a month per hotel room.
Woo!
So that probably give you an idea of that. And then, of course, that doesn't include feeding them and everything. Now, again, I'm all for helping the homeless people, but there's a much more cost-effective way to do this, and this should have been addressed in its first term.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, a lot of it's just common sense, First of all, the city owns a lot of buildings that are vacant, so they can certainly, in industrial areas, some of the industrial areas of the city,
Yes.
they certainly could visit these buildings and either knock them down and rebuild facilities for them, especially the ones that need treatment, for mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that, right?
Yeah.
There are buildings throughout the state that are owned by the state that are vacant. There's properties that are empty, that have nothing, no housing or anything on them that they can build on. Much less expensive, much more cost effective to do it. I mean, look, he wants to put 150 people in a building that's costing about $4,500, $5,000 a month, just to put them in a room there, and they could build stuff that would cost $500 a month, $1,000 a month, and then they could receive treatment for their illnesses, and potentially after they get the treatment, maybe even be able to go out and get a job and work and get some help, maybe in affordable housing, which is a good thing to do. And you build this affordable housing in less expensive, areas, so that you can actually take care of them properly. There was a affordable housing, for example, in Harlem, where a family of 6 just recently died because the building was a fire trap. They were trapped in the building. There was no way out. 4 children died. And the city could have prevented this by making sure the building is safe. That all they need to do is put a door in to end, so they could exit into the hallway, and their lives would have been saved. Unfortunately, there was a fire in the kitchen, and they couldn't escape through the kitchen to get to the to get out of the building because there was access out of the building on the other side of the kitchen where there was a fire. And then
Yeah.
nothing is thought out. Everything is just done without thinking these things out. And, you know, you maybe bring in some professionals, maybe bring in some people from the private sector to figure this stuff out. And I think if they did that, we definitely would be able to help a lot of these homeless people. But it's never going to happen because these politicians come in, they don't want to deal with the problem. They're basically just kicking the can down the road. By the time he's out, you know, the problem will be worse, and then somebody else will come in, and who knows what they're going to do.
70,000 people on the streets of New York on a nightly basis. Where are the churches and nonprofits? You know, we've read Dickens before, since we're in the Christmas holiday season. Where are those nonprofit entities? Why aren't they working with your organization to instigate solutions like these to get done in New York?
I think that sometimes they buy into politicians and what they have to say. I think sometimes people think when anytime a politician says, well, we're going to spend millions of dollars or we're going to spend $1 billion, they think that by writing those checks out that the problem's going to get solved. So I think that's probably a big part of the problem right there.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see, you know, a politician come in, and you know what, you're making a good point, and that is I would love to see a mayor come in and say, I'm going to create committees made up of people who live in the city, and we're going to all work together to come up with the right solutions to solve these problems. Because very often there's quite a few talented people that live in the communities themselves that could actually help come up with, you know, ways that we can deal with these problems. And unfortunately, you know, the mayor that we have doesn't really like to reach out to people. He doesn't like to talk to people and ask them what their opinion is. It's sort of like, you know, my highway, and, you know, my way or you know, get lost.
Exactly.
And I think that's kind of the approach that they have, and that's really not the way to run the city. And that's why we have this serious homeless crisis. I feel terrible for a lot of these mentally ill people because, you know, we recently had somebody who was mentally ill go to the bathroom right in front of our door.
Wow.
Literally.
Wow.
And it's on camera. I mean, we have cameras outside. And, you know, it's really very sad because obviously they don't know what they're doing, and obviously they need help. And, you know, when the cold weather hits, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of cold weather coming up in January.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody's on the street and they're mentally ill and they don't want to go into a shelter, the city's not going to force them to do it. And I really think the city needs to, you know, a lot of these folks that are mentally ill aren't capable of making decisions on their own, and they need to be pushed. They need to be pushed to get help.
Now,
you know, the city has a different point of view about that for whatever reason, I don't know.
Now, there are some people who would say, well, no, some people are veterans and just homeless and poor, and they have a right to live on the street as if they were in San Francisco or Los Angeles. They have every right, if they want, to lay on the street, and we should, as humane individuals, comfort them, give them blankets, give them tent space. How does that work for Manhattan? How does that work for New York?
Well, I mean, that's the philosophy of the current politicians in office, that everybody has a right to sleep on the street, and, you know, and that's it. They can go to the bathroom on the street, you know, et cetera. And I think that's inhumane.
Yes.
I think that anything inhumane should never be allowed, and that's inhumane. It's cruel. It's cruel that somebody should be sleeping on the street. I recently approached a husband and wife, and they were on the street, and they seemed to be very. And I asked them, I said, you know, what's your story? And they said their house burned down, and they had nowhere to go. So then I instructed them what they needed to do and who they needed to contact in the city to get help. And so they said they were going to do that. I don't know if they did it or not, but they said they would do that. Now, in that case, those are the kinds of people that could be helped if they wanted. But the people that are mentally ill, they're really not going to reach out for help. They need to be pushed. They need to be taken off the streets, and they need to be given rehabilitation, and they need to be helped. And it's very cruel for the governor of California
Yes.
I mean, nobody normal is going to sleep in the street. Now, if they're going to sleep in the street and they know they can get help, I mean, if they're normal, they're going to reach out and get help. Now, if they reach out and they can't get help, then obviously the system's broken. And I think the city is more than capable of spending less money and doing more with the less money they're spending to create these programs that can help these people that need the help.
You know, you bring wisdom and common sense to the table, which is why you're not welcome at it. Michael, how can people get in contact with you and find ways of supporting your endeavors with New York Central Park South Civic Association?
Well, they can send me an email at michael@centralparkcivicassociation.com. Again, that's Michael, Michael, at centralparkcivicassociation.com.
There we go.
And anybody that wants to get involved with our association, or anybody who has some good ideas, we'd love to hear from them.
Well, we enjoyed you being on tonight, and you came up with some very good ideas that need to be put to the test. Certainly, spending $4,500 a month and $100 a month in Midtown Manhattan doesn't make any sense at all. There has got to be a better solution. You have government buildings that can be used, and it is now time for the government to get off of its liberal agenda and show humanity to the people in great need. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Fischer. Yes, sir. Your closing note. Go right ahead.
Just real quickly, I was going to say that these politicians give the impression they want to help people because they're writing out checks, but they're not doing anything. They do nothing. It's very sad. I would say shame on them. Shame on all these politicians. They should look in the mirror and be ashamed of themselves.
Exactly. Michael Fischer, President, New York's Central Park South Civic Association. Get in contact with him this Christmas and help them help the homeless. The best way of helping the homeless is by reaching out, not just your hand, but your heart and your mind to changing the laws so that those individuals can get the services that they need most. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We'll be back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after these messages for some of our great, great sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be on the air. With them, we can do all things through Christ Jesus. We'll be right back.